Welcome to Travels in Britain. This episode, we're going to take you on a tour of the Oxfordshire Cotswolds, taking in some stunning market towns, charming villages, and as well as Blenheim Palace, the birthplace of Winston Churchill. Is the bustling market town of Burford. The charming town of Burford dates back to the Anglo-Saxon period of history, and there's always been some sort of settlement along the River Windrush in Burford. The town is populated by buildings built in beautiful, rich yellow Cotswold stone. Everything is old, and it couldn't be more lovely, or picture postcard, as the English like to say. We parked our car in the town's car park, which is located near the local church and next to the River Windrush. It's a lovely setting where in Britain, even their car parks are picturesque as you watch ducks glide down the river on the walk from the car park to the town center. Burford is bustling. It's a market town and also on a main road, so it's far from being a quiet and peaceful place. That said, the town is filled with lovely old shops, antique stores, restaurants, historical points of interest, and much, much more. If you're into knitting or cross-stitch, there's a lovely knitting store on the high street, and there's also a great little bookshop called the Mad Hatter Books, and it's worth a stop as well. Huffkins is the perfect stop for a nice tea break while you're in Burford. They have an excellent selection of teas, and their scones are legendary. You'll have an amazing tea lunch there, and you'll definitely make a special trip there to go back. They have an excellent full tea service with all the accoutrements, including scones, sandwiches, and more. And also, don't miss their chocolate cake, which is fantastic. After a nice lunch at Huffkins, explore the town some more and head for Burford's church, which we'd heard was particularly beautiful. You'll be greeted by a beautiful English churchyard in full bloom. The church is free to go inside, and definitely take advantage of the opportunity if you have the time. Burford Church was founded in 1175 and was funded by the rich wool merchants made wealthy by Cotswold wool. The church has a bloody notoriety as it was used as a temporary prison by Oliver Cromwell after the English Civil War, and he personally executed several rebel soldiers in the churchyard for their refusal to follow orders. The interior of the church features beautiful religious artwork, carvings, and while we were there, trees. Also inside, be sure to take a look at the famous turret clock, which is one of the oldest mechanical clocks in Britain and has been ticking away since 1685. Burford Church is a quiet and peaceful stop, and we highly recommend a walk through the gardens surrounding the church, which offer up lovely views of the surrounding countryside with plenty of benches to stop and have a rest. If you enjoy your visit, don't forget to leave your loose change in the donation box to help with the upkeep of the church. Just down the road from Burford is the Cotswold Wildlife Park. Set in the grounds of a stately home called Bradwell Grove, the Cotswold Wildlife Park was founded in 1970 as a way to save the gardens and the house so that they could be enjoyed by the public but still be owned by the family. It's a family-run concern that also happens to be one of the most popular zoological attractions in Britain. The estate is vast, with many different types of animals on display, from birds, mammals, carnivores, insects, and more. There's something for every animal interest here. The highlight of the Cotswold Wildlife Park is its narrow-gauge train. Their small railway runs through the entire estate and gives you an excellent overview of all the wildlife living there. You can see all the animals up close as you whiz by and get great views of the stately home itself. Children particularly love the train. The park features a great playground area for the kids, and when they get bored looking at animals, there's plenty for the kids to do and have fun. Cotswold Wildlife Park is an excellent family day out, and while it can be a little pricey, it's well worth the money for all that's on offer. Take note that Bradwell Grove, the stately house itself, is not open to the public, nor does it offer tours. You can walk through the ground level where there are bathrooms, or enjoy the restaurant in the back of the house, but the house itself is not open to the public. After you leave Cotswold Wildlife Park, head down the country lanes to the small village of Filkins and stop off at Cotswold Woolen Weavers. The Cotswolds exist because of the wool trade that drove the local economy for hundreds of years, and the Cotswold Woolen Mill is one of the last working mills in the area still making cloth in the traditional manner. While it's a working woolen mill, they also have a nice store where you can admire plenty of beautiful items made in the mill, including wool jackets and caps. The prices are a little high, but they reflect the fact that the items were made right there on site and you're paying for English quality. There's something very satisfying about buying an item where it was made and helping to maintain a tradition that goes back hundreds of years. It's free to explore the grounds of the mill and observe the looms if they're in operation. Cotswold Woolen Weavers is mostly a shop, but there are little bits of museum displays where you can learn about the history of wool weaving. The owners, Jane and Richard Martin, have collected many cool artifacts over the years, and there's also a nice cafe on site that looks out into a nice courtyard. Cotswold Woolen Weavers is definitely worth a stop if you're interested in the heritage behind Cotswold wool and want to pick up well-made wool goods. Our next stop is Kelmscott Manor. Kelmscott was the country home of William Morris, the founder of the arts and crafts design movement. It was his home from 1871 until his death in 1896, and the current state of the house has been left much as it was when he died. The interiors feature artifacts he gathered, his famous designs, and the whole place is very evocative of the arts and crafts movement. The house is on the edge of the beautiful village of Kelmscott, which Morris himself described as a heaven on earth. He was not wrong. The village is beautiful, and it's a pleasure to walk through. If you're hungry, there's a well-rated pub on the walk to the manor house as well. We arrived about an hour before closing time, and the house was still pretty bustling. It's not a free attraction, and adults will pay £9 to get in. There are no guided tours offered, but there are helpful volunteers in each room who will tell you about the contents of the room and answer any questions that you have. Kelmscott, otherwise a rather unremarkable manor house by English standards, has been made remarkable by William Morris' choice of decoration and detail. While there's much to see, you'll be struck at how simple and rather Spartan the house actually is. A visit to Kelmscott Manor is a nice way to end a busy day touring southern England, and I would definitely go back. The house is only open to the public in the summer months. If you're looking for a romantic and atmospheric hotel while you're exploring the Oxfordshire Cotswolds, consider staying at the old Swan and Minster Mill Hotel, where we laid our heads for 2 nights while we passed through. The old Swan and Minster Mill is an old mill that was converted into a stunning luxury hotel that features a world-class restaurant, award-winning gardens, and comfortable hotel rooms. When we arrived, the staff were expecting us and helped us with our bags and showed us to our room, so we cannot fault their wonderful service. Our room was a stunning room that overlooked the mill courtyard and the River and Rush. The hotel is situated right next to the river, and when you open the windows, that's the sound you're greeted with. Beautiful is not an adequate word. The hotel also provided us with everything we would need to care for Angletopia Jr., including a cot for him to sleep in. The inn that the hotel was converted from dates back to 1445, and the place oozes charm and history. It was turned into a world-class hotel in the 1970s, and was recently updated again when it was purchased by the de Savory family. Everything on the grounds is impeccable, and it's exactly what you'd expect from a historic English hotel. One of our favorite features was that they have the grounds stocked with petting animals. The staff was particularly excited that their ducks named Eddie and Betty had recently given birth to ducklings. You can spot them in the duck house located right behind the restaurant. The kids will love it. The restaurant, which is actually the old Swan part of the property, features delicious traditional English fare, and we recommend the steak dish and the pasta, a favorite of Mrs. Angletopia. The village where we were staying, Minster Lovell, was famous because of an old ruin that's located there. The ruins of Minster Lovell Hall are a romantic stop on the Oxfordshire Cotswold Trail, and we knew we had to make a stop. So, one morning, we took a short walk up the street from our hotel to explore the ruins. Located in an old churchyard, Minster Lovell is simply a wreck, a beautiful and haunting wreck. Minster Lovell Hall was a massive manor house that was the center of the village of Minster Lovell for hundreds of years, but this was back in the 1400s. It was a thriving manor house until it was abandoned by its aristocratic owners in the 1700s, only to be dismantled and ruined by the locals, who probably used the stone in building their own homes. England is full of ruins like this, and it's amazing that they're just lying about. This one is free and open to the public. It's used by the locals as a place to sunbathe by the River Windrush, which rushes by the ruins, as it has long before there was ever a manor house on its shores. There weren't many people around when we visited, so we got a chance to explore the place on our own, a rarity with English tourist attractions. It was so cool to walk through the ruins of the Great Hall and think about the lives that took place there, the history that passed, and the beauty of the building, even in its ruined state. So, if you're driving through the area, it's a quick stop, bring a picnic, and enjoy the peaceful setting away from it all. A visit to Blenheim Palace is a must if you are in Oxfordshire. It's possibly one of Britain's most famous stately homes and is also the only non-royal palace in Britain. Blenheim Palace was a gift to the first Duke of Marlborough from a grateful nation for his victory over the French at the Battle of Blenheim. The house has been in the Churchill family since. A certain World War II leader by the name of Winston Churchill was born at Blenheim when his family was visiting in the late 1800s. The palace takes well advantage of both of these connections to great leaders in British history, and the whole place is geared towards them. The room where Churchill was born is set up exactly like it was when he was born and has become a bit of a shrine for Churchill enthusiasts. The house itself is amazing. It's the finest piece of Baroque architecture in the world. The palace is massive in scope, so massive it's hard to get good pictures of it because you can never fit the whole thing in the frame. Your admission to the palace gets you inside the palace itself, where you can take a guided tour or wander around on your own. You can also ride a train located on the grounds that takes you to the pleasure gardens, a perfect activity for the kids who might get bored by a stately home. The grounds are massive and beautiful. You've seen these landscapes before in movies and TV shows. Visiting them in person feels like visiting an old friend. There's a special display on both famous Churchills that's worth a stop as well. There's also a cinema that gives you a bit of historical background. This is one of Britain's most popular tourist attractions, so it has facilities to match. The gift shop is epic and has every piece of Churchill memorabilia you could possibly want. There's a great restaurant that has a menu of hot food. The burger and chips are surprisingly good. The seating area is out on the veranda with views of the fountains, the gardens, and the parklands surrounding the estate, a perfect place to eat. You can easily spend the whole day here, and you should. A great way to see the Oxfordshire countryside is to take a tea break canal boat tour on England's beautiful canals. We recommend Oxfordshire Narrowboats run by Dave Dare, where you can get a great spot of tea before you depart at their lovely cafe called Kizzy's. Britain has hundreds of miles of old industrial canals that were built during the Industrial Revolution to service the booming industries at that time. As the industry declined, the canals began to be used for pleasure boating, and there's now a thriving canal boating industry. Renting a canal boat is now one of the most popular things to do on the English tourist trail. With Oxfordshire Narrowboats, you have all kinds of options. You can rent a canal boat for the day and give yourself a go at navigating the canals on your own, or you can hire a captain to help you do it. If you're more adventurous, you can also rent a canal boat for a longer period of time and explore England's canal network on your own. It's a great way to see England. You're treated to mile after mile of stunning countryside, and all your accommodation is on the boat. As long as you can operate the locks, which is really easy as it was demonstrated to us, you can travel the canals at your leisure. Dave was kind enough to show us the ropes, give us a down on all there is to offer, and let us enjoy the breathtaking scenery. We definitely want to run a canal boat ourselves on a future trip.
Well, if you want to hire a narrowboat on the canals, on Britain's canals, you've got three choices. You can either go on a hired trip with a skipper, such as I'm doing right now, taking people along the canal, but by far the most popular choice is to hire your own boat. You have two choices. You can hire a boat for a day, or you can hire a boat for a holiday with all the facilities on board, some boats including ensuite toilets, full cooking, full sleeping arrangements. You can go for anything up to a month at a time if you want to, certainly for a short break, as far as you want to go in the time you have. Just remember that wherever you go, don't hurry, you only cruise quarter. The canal was originally built in the 18th century, early 18th century, and it was designed by the owners to transport coal from the Midlands collieries down to Oxford, because they felt that they were being fleeced by the price of coal that had to have originally come down the coast into London and up the River Thames. The canal was built and opened in around about 1780. It was one of the few canals that surprised everyone by staying in private ownership and profitable right through until all the canals were nationalised in 1948. And it was also the last canal on which there was regular horse-drawn boat carriage, with a famous chap called Joe Skinner and his wife, who used to bring the coal down and would sometimes take other loads back up to the Midlands. And then in the 1960s, as the canal was withering away from a trading point of view, the holiday boom started, and to this day the South Oxford Canal has remained one of the most popular canals for holiday cruising because of the beauty, because of the tranquility.
That's it from the Oxfordshire Cotswolds. Join us in the next episode of Travels in Britain, where we explore the stunning Georgian city of Bath.